I was talking to Maggie, and she's a place at the table. Oh, Raleigh. Hey, there you are. I didn't see you come in. So good to see you, Raleigh. It is once again I, Robert Courts, local artist enthusiast, supporter of the power of local and all around groovy cat. And I have today someone that I've just met, was referred from a friend of a friend, which is kind of what the power of local is. And it is Mike Vagin. Mike Vagin. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Mike Vaggalis. Doing
Vaggalis.
awesome, Robert. And I have heard high school was a rough time for me. I've heard my name pronounced every way you can imagine. But yeah, Mike Vaggalis, doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Mike. And it is an honor to have you here. Mike owns and runs My Keepsake Tales, and it's a personalized children's book, but it's one that's a little different and I think unique in a wide range of children's books. Could you just tell us a little bit about what it is, please?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. It's so great to be part of this amazing Raleigh community. And Robert, love what you're doing, and so happy to be here. So we make the most personalized children's books in the world. We came up with a business. They're brand new. We launched in September of 2019. And our children's books are different because we start our illustration process with a picture of the child. And we turn that picture into a cartoon that matches the illustration style of our story. And then we integrate that child into the role of they're the champion of the story. So any child, regardless of what they look like, if they're a racial minority, maybe if they are like in a wheelchair or have Down syndrome, um, we just, yeah, we wanted to create a book system where any child, regardless of what they look like, can see themselves as the champion. So that's what we do.
That is fantastic. I've been involved in the special needs community of Raleigh for about a decade and a half, and you see all these children books, and they're not really all inclusive. You know, there's so many of them that are just so generic that you don't see my child or what looks like my child in there. So, what a clever idea! And it's so you just send in a couple photos, and y'all fully integrate it into a complete book.
Yeah, you got it. So we have a personalization center where when you purchase a book, we direct you to our personalization center, and we've just got some example pictures there of the kinds of expressions that we need, to be submitted, and then just some helpful tips like have good lighting and don't obstruct the face,
Right.
and preferably stay in front of a neutral background. But it's a really fun, simple process. We've heard stories of customers telling us, man, my child felt like they were on a photo shoot, and we just had a blast going
Nice.
and taking these pictures. And then we've got a production team that takes those and converts them and integrates them into the story. So it's been a really, yeah, it's a fun business. And the coolest part's just seeing the faces of the kids when they get the books and seeing them flipping through the story and like, choosing a book instead of an iPad. It's
Oh,
been amazing.
that is incredible. What's your motivation behind this, Mike? What led you to such a unique idea?
Yeah, so I got the startup bug a couple of years ago, when I got my MBA, and ever since then I've really been on the lookout for what would be a really meaningful business idea that really has a big social impact, and also there's a viable market opportunity. And I came across this one, and it started because, as you can see, I love books and reading. That's always been a really important part of my life. And when I look at a lot of kids that are in my life, many of them don't share that same passion because they're spending so much time on the iPhone or iPad or whatever. And I started just asking people about this idea of really personalized children's books. And we had a lot of people that said, yeah, that would be a great way to get my child off the screen. But I really, for the first time, had my eyes open to the state of inclusion in children's literature. And I was astounded. There were so many parents and grandparents and children who said things like, man, like my child has never been able to see herself in a story because she has Down syndrome, and they don't make books for kids that have Down syndrome. Or, my child is biracial and they have a skin tone that isn't represented in like any stories. And so that I mean, it's sort of like the scales fell from my eyes. It was like wow, this is really important. Um, and after a lot of thought and hard work and planning, we got to a point where I think we could solve that problem.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
that's an incredible story. You started out as an entrepreneur, it touched your heart, and now you're changing the lives of children and really the whole family. I mean, I can't imagine the whole family doesn't get around and read the book together and ooh and
Yeah.
ah over it. It's got to be a family function or a family event when the books arrive.
Yeah, totally. I think that family time and story time as a family is so important. If we can help kids develop a love for stories and a love for reading, um, man, that is such a huge win. That'll change lives. And if we can, for those children who, I mean, for every child, what we believe fundamentally is every child is one of a kind and has intrinsic value. And if we can help every child see themselves as the champion of the story, overcoming obstacles, working in teams, doing all these great things as the champion, that's where kids start to develop a sense of self-worth and value and understand, wow, I matter simply because I'm human, I matter. Um, so yeah, it's really powerful. I think that there's nothing else on this planet that I'm meant to be doing with my life. So it's pretty cool to have that sort of a feel about what you're working on.
Well, Mike, if I may preach to my larger sermon, there's four basic power of locals. And one of them, when you shop local, when you reach out to my Keepsake Tales, it's a very powerful impact on the nonprofit community and on those generally who are underserved. So you're kind of the epitome of the power of local across the board. Um, Let me ask you a question. If I were to go on right now online and sign a book and upload my pictures, what's the turnkey time process on that?
Yeah, so right now it's about 6 weeks.
Okay.
We're still technically in pre-orders right now. So when we exit pre-orders and we actually start the production process, which should be hopefully next week, maybe the week after, we should be able to shorten that lead time significantly. Um, and then we have some really exciting technology in the
Mm,
works where we're working on actually completely automating that process
mm,
and even giving the customer the option to review the proofs of the story before they purchase and
wow.
then purchase the story, and that'll drastically improve the lead time. So more to come there. We are also trying to raise some funding to invest in that
Mhm.
process. So that's sort of our next steps is we're trying to get as many books in the hands of as many kids as possible, and then raise the funding that we need to invest in this infrastructure, um, and uh, yeah, and make it a much better process for families and get them books much sooner.
Right. Well, that's great. You got the wheel rolling, but you got some improvements coming along. I'm curious if you think I'm going to be able to get 4 or 5 of these for the holiday season coming up at the end of the year. Will y'all be up and running? But this would make a great holiday gift. Is what I'm
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Our we will get books before the end of October is
Oh,
like a guarantee, and I am pretty sure that we'll beat that delivery time by a large margin. Um, but yeah, but before the holidays is no question.
great. And then how do we reach you? How do we find you guys, Mike?
Yeah, so if you go to www.mykeepsaketales.com, that'll land you on our landing page, and you'll see the first image there is it's a fun image. It's our cover of the story that we just launched, and we actually developed this book in collaboration with this huge global nonprofit called No Barriers. They're amazing. Go check them out as well. Just nobarriers.com. And uh, they're this nonprofit that actually was founded by a guy named Eric Weinmayer, was co-founded by Eric, and he was the first blind person to summit Mount Everest.
Ooh.
And Eric and his partner Dave, and I mean, they've just got the best team. They built this organization to show anybody, but primarily people with disabilities, that they can break through barriers in their lives. So this book we worked on with No Barriers, and we actually co-authored the book with Mandy Harvey, who is a musical, amazingly talented singer. She was on America's Got Talent and got the golden buzzer from Simon. And so we co-authored this book with No Barriers, and it's such a fun story that puts your child in the role of protagonist. And then they have your child will have two friends, Aaliyah and Ace, and they go through this really fun story and accomplish some really big obstacles.
Well, Mike, it is really good to see an entrepreneur not only loves what they're doing to be an entrepreneur, but is doing it to change the world, especially helping kids, which is, where we should be spending our effort. If we could change these kids' lives, our future improves with it. So, Raleigh, let me just say in conclusion that it was I, Robert Courts, who brought Mike to your attention. So, while Mike deserves the glory, and My Keepsake Tales is a very cool personalized child book ready for you to order for the holiday season, maybe even Halloween, if you consider that the
Yeah.
holiday season. Mike, any last words to our audience before we close?
Last thing, I just love to give a gift back to Raleigh. And so if you do go order, be sure to use discount code LOCAL10, LOCAL 10, and that'll get you 10% off your first order. So, yeah, we just so appreciate being part of this community, and we hope that you'll support us in what we're doing. I think it really matters, and I hope that you guys will be all in. And yeah, come back and check out your backyard Raleigh. This is such a cool thing that Robert and the guys are doing for our community. So thank you guys for doing this.
Well, thank you. And we're going to help out. YBY is going to purchase one of the books. And Mike, if you will find a child in your life who you think would benefit from this, it's our gift. And then maybe we can interview you again and really look at the book and have a nice peek when it comes out in about 6 weeks.
That would be great. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the orders.
Raleigh, Robert Courts, Mike of My Keepsake Tales, wishing you a happy Wednesday. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.